good night, Facebook. Welcome to the Real Talk Show. We have an awesome show in store for you all today. You all know how this go. Today we're talking about mental health issues. Now, it's going to be a powerful show because we have a special guest. But before we jump to him, you all know who we're going to first, right? Unika Narayan. Let's give Unika Narayan a round of applause.
Good night, Facebook.
Yeah, and then we have our special guest here, Don Hamilton. Let's give him a round of applause. And then you all know Mark Ned. Let's give Mark Ned a round of applause. And then we have special favorite person, Ava Dell in the house. So let's give Ava
something. Okay, none of y'all get anything for that, right? I'm just saying. I'm joking. I always try to give something to everybody. Okay, good night, Facebook. Good night, YouTube. Welcome to the Real Talk Show, guys, and we are live at number 12 Anna Street. We have a serious topic tonight. We have great giveaways. We have really awesome giveaways, which I'll inform you all on in a little bit, but we want to hear what you all think, okay? We now starting things off, so begin to share. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your questions. We actually have a pastor tonight on the show, and he's actually a family therapist as well. So we want to hear if maybe you have a question, maybe you think you have some issues in life. I get to find out that women tend to have somebody, so we're going to find out some stuff tonight, all right, guys? So we want to hear what y'all think. Share, comment, and ask as many questions as you want, right? We're now getting things started off, so begin to share like crazy, all right? We're going to go back to Kyle now to start things off.
Hey, awesome stuff. This week we're gonna have a long, exciting week ahead. But you all remember when was Mental Health Day?
The 10th of October.
10th of October. Now, you all, maybe you might know a little. Well, when was that day established? I really don't know. I don't know if you know.
I'm not the historian on that.
You're the historian on that because it's just interesting that, remember, I guess long ago, as we get along in the show, you realize sometimes people might think, well, people just weird, but then they realize now today that they might label it and say you have this specific disorder you have. Right. And become today where it's a much more recognized thing that...
Well, there's actually a day for everything now.
Yes.
There's sibling day, there's mustache day.
Every dog day.
So they should have a day.
It's every dog have his day.
I know where that one comes from.
You know where that one comes from? But yeah, it's just interesting that there's a day for awareness, really and truly, and not to celebrate anything, but just a day for awareness because there are a lot of issues I guess people have, and many times it maybe go untreated.
Yeah.
They get unfair. Like I can tell you, in school, growing up, I sure there are people lives I made worse.
Oh,
you might realize they're a little different, and they give them talks, they're wild people, and you don't realize maybe they have an issue.
Right.
In school, I just being honest, in school.
Now they call that trauma.
Yeah, they call that trauma.
Wow.
But I think most people, if you didn't notice it, maybe it was happening to you. In school days is one of some of the roughest times in some people's life,
Bullying.
Yeah.
But I think mental health, now they're trying to get people to be more comfortable coming out and asking for help, because before it was a real sort of taboo thing. That, they would call it like that, she's a mad person, mad woman, like a mad woman.
Yeah.
So people try to suppress it.
Right.
And so it wasn't something that somebody would be open and willing to come and say, I need help. I can't cope, or I'm seeing this, or, Actually, I have a family member who used to see things. I don't know if it was
is
mental.
there any stories where you say family member was really yourself?
No.
Oh.
No, really.
Say, well, I have a family.
No, really.
I have a friend.
She would come and say, she would be crying, and her crying was so real that she saw something, but none of us would see this thing that she was seeing. And so we would make jokes and say, look, she's mad, and so obviously, even if she continued to see that, she would stop telling us.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that she stopped seeing things, but she's like, I'm not telling anybody anymore. And they try to cope with it. Yeah.
So Don, you're a family therapist.
Right.
And I guess in your field, there be more focus on mental health?
No. A distinction must be made between psychology and psychiatry.
Right.
Okay, as psychologists, my profession really focuses on less critical areas. Mental health goes over into psychiatry, not
Right.
psychologists. However, you cannot determine which client will come to you.
Yes.
Right.
And so I would work with a client to a certain point, and if it's outside my own expertise and training, you refer.
Right.
Right.
And sometimes you may have a psychiatrist who may say, look, go and see a psychologist or a counselor.
Right.
So in the field of training, your depth of training requires you to have a wide range, like a general practitioner.
Okay.
So you recognize your spot. You may not be able to treat,
Okay.
Right.
but you refer.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So, I guess the first question we ask is really what is mental illness?
Right.
You know?
Well, I wanted to draw on the Mental Health Act of Trinidad and Tobago as is defined. It says that when you are mentally ill or a mentally ill person, means a person who is suffering from such a disorder of mind that they require care, supervision, treatment, and control, or any of them, for its own protection or for the welfare or for the protection and the welfare of others.
Okay.
So a mental health issue, you are ill mentally and you are in need of care, supervision, control, so that you can be protected from harming yourself or harming others.
Right.
Now, years ago, there was just these two broad frameworks that was used. You can talk someone is neurotic or they're psychotic.
Right.
And that was the broad framework. When you talk about neurosis or neurotic, here you're talking about someone who would manifest emotional disturbances. So that's neurosis.
Yeah.
Could you give us an example?
And depression would come under neurosis.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, someone who has moods that would swing from A to Z. That's neurosis.
Woman.
No, all right.
I
I'm
always
just joking.
thought they
Facebook,
said
I'm
time of the month or something. I didn't know that there's
so
another
there's a
label.
group.
Also, there's another label. Sometimes this is the time of the month. And
Right.
it's joking there.
Right. And the other broad category would be psychosis. So somebody could be psychotic, and when it's psychotic, that means now you're losing touch with reality.
Okay.
Okay.
You are seeing and hearing things that other people are not seeing and hearing.
Okay.
Lifetime movie. You see that whole Lifetime movie that men and women love? It's built on the framework of psychosis.
Which one?
So for it, all of these movies, for example. So
the man label that channel.
yeah. So you hire a secretary, and she falls in love with you, and all of a sudden she's in your bedroom, just cutting out your wife's picture from the wedding thing and sticking in her own, and she thinks you're in love with her. And
Psychotic.
psychosis. She's seeing and hearing things that nobody else is seeing.
Okay.
So when you refer to your relative, it could be psychotic.
Okay.
You see? So these two broad. But the thing about it is that there are some people who may be neurotic or psychotic, but they are not doing harm to themselves or others. So they're walking and they're
Right,
living
right.
among and with us.
Okay.
They're among us.
So there are aliens among us, but it's interesting. So in the area of so you're describing that's what mental health illness is, right? So would you say that only, I guess what you're saying is not only people who have maybe a physical symptom, like they do something.
Correct.
So where does that fall into zone where if somebody is not actually physically acting on, they're not doing anything, right?
Right.
How do you maybe come to a conclusion, what is the problem I'm asking?
Well, what happens?
Diagnose them.
Yeah, but what happens is that we generally leave people unattended
Right.
if they are not a harm to themselves or
Others.
harm to others. So once there seem to be one, for example, self-inflicting of wounds. So, for example, anybody who attempted suicide,
Right.
the assessment there is going in the area of psychiatry.
Right.
You see? Or if they're doing harm to others. So you could be self-admitted, you could self-admit, or someone could admit you, or you can call the authorities to pick up someone
Right.
who demonstrated that they might be a harm to themselves or harm to others. Once you get into, let's say, caregiving, professional caregiving, an assessment and evaluation is made of you because it is not one-dimensional.
Okay.
There are multiple factors inside it that might contribute to someone having a psychotic break or being neurotic, and then you have to now peg what that is so you can begin the treatment plan. So it's not something that you say off the, oh, look, that fella look mad, or no.
Yeah.
You have to do that kind of a assessment. Because
It's true, because sometimes you see people on the streets and they're acting mad, but then after later on in the night, they're normal.
yeah, they
So tell
just
some
drop out of life.
Yeah.
Life is too stressful. So that, for example, you may have to look at, is there some drug-related induced
Right.
psychosis? So if you, let's say somebody's on cocaine or marijuana, they will have hallucinations
people
and so
who
on.
smoke
So,
marijuana
so you have to
often.
deal with the drug
Yeah.
issue there.
Right.
Right.
Generally, you may have a medical assessment. If somebody is carrying an STD or any communicable disease, you have to take that into consideration. Also, the environmental stressors, very important. You know, without calling names, some couple of years ago, there was someone who was a female expressing extreme stress on her job and so on, and there was an attempt to get her admitted and all that kind of stuff. Because stressors, some people could crack under stress.
Yeah.
Right.
You need to manipulate the environment. Then, of course, they may have to do some blood work to see if there is any challenge with the chemicals in your body, you know. So, like the serotonin level could show, you know, depression and so on. And so that kind of assessment is done so to determine, okay, this is a kind of a medication and treatment. Because some people, once they're on their medication, they can live comfortable, normal lives. You see, but there's the fear of the stigmatization and so on. So it's a thorough assessment needs to be done. And then there are some people who may be violent.
Okay.
And because of that, they may need to be placed in some kind of a holding bay.
Okay. Be violent.
When you,
Okay.
when you say holding bay, like a cell?
We don't use the word cell, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Right? It's a holding.
Okay.
It's a ward.
It's a
that
ward.
That is properly.
And it has to be a ward that they can't harm themselves in.
Correct.
So it has to, I guess, have certain.
or come out and harm others.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
If somebody is deemed clinically insane,
Yeah.
you see, that's in a different category.
Okay.
See, now there are some people who have used clinically insane as a defense
Yes.
against
For their
crime.
reason,
Yes.
yeah.
All that kind of assessment have to be done.
Yes. Right.
Okay, okay,
right.
okay. So, you know, I want to go to the comment section, and then we're going online and Ava do her thing, and then we're going to come back to get
Right,
more
sure.
details of, like, you know, what is the different type of, you know, illnesses. I mean, obviously I can't go through the whole list, but,
Right,
you know, so
right.
let me,
I have
Ava, you
someone
go
I
ahead.
wanna ask, yeah.
Yeah?
All right. So let me start by saying good night to a few people. We have Nick Olas, I believe. There's a space between the Nick and the Olas. So I thought like Olas was like Spanish, so I wasn't pronouncing the H. If you look at it, you'll understand. It's not Nicholas, that's in one word. You'll make me feel like stop laughing. We also have
very real.
Susan, good night. Adele, Daniel, good night to you. Angel Spirit, Gail Nelson Balroop, good night to you as well. Renal Medina. Renal says, so excited for this. Big up to the best lecturer ever, Mr. Hamilton. Yeah, seeing plenty of people here making mention of him being a lecturer, even for the Angel. Said that, Angel, you had a psychology teacher. What you did that, you had a psychology teacher. Let me see. Good night to AJ J. Allen as well. Let me see. Aniala Sturge also said he's awesome. So everybody just bigging up Mr. Hamilton right now. They're more interested in the guests that we have than the topic so far, guys. Okay, let's stay on point here. All right, so we want to encourage you all to ask any questions, or maybe if there's maybe even if there's some issues, like think about it, right? Because we have a full show here for you. We have free advice basically You could ask anything you want to ask. Maybe there's something that you notice in a family member. So I want you all to tax your brain, right? And think about maybe you have a question. Maybe there's something that you feel, maybe you read something and you always wondered, is that true? You know, you could feel free to ask it tonight, all right? Because we're going to get into the details and we want to hear what you think and we want to answer your questions, right? That's the purpose of the show. So I did not mention the giveaways earlier, unfortunately. So let me do that right now. We have here a $75 gift card voucher from Organic Heaven. All right, guys, for all of your organic food needs, you can contact 622-1768. They are located at number 45 Saddle Road, Maraval. Anything gluten-free. They got rolled oats, organic milks, a wide range of stuff. So just give them a call or you could visit them as well, all right? And you could also check them out on Instagram. That's Organic Heaven Foods. We have a Francis Fashion voucher, and we also have a Movie Town voucher here for you. So we have 3 really cool giveaways as usual. All you have to do is comment, maybe ask a question, just to win one of these giveaways, all right? So we're going to go back to Kyle. Again, I want to hear what you all think. I want to hear your questions, because that's how you're going to win a giveaway, all right? So we're going to go back to Kyle now. Take it away.
Hey, awesome stuff. Now, let me get directly into some of the real deep questions that people might have, right? Like, one of my first questions is, what's the different type of mental health, mental illness? Because people, a lot of labels, so obviously, but maybe the most common ones that, you heard of. Now, that might be 100.
I have a list here. I mean, the list going on and on.
Yeah,
When you say common, I mean...
So we hear words like bipolar.
Okay, all right.
We hear
Now,
words, yeah.
In the field of psychiatry, there's a Bible that is used, and I use Bible.
Yeah.
It's called DSM.
Okay.
And the letters mean...
DSM?
Yeah, DSM.
Okay.
Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders.
Oh, okay.
So right now we DSM 5 going to 6, right?
Yeah,
so you have
keep
DSM
upgrading,
1,
yeah.
DSM 2, DSM 3, DSM 4. And in DSM then, the mental health categories are developed there. So generally you used to speak about 7 categories of mental health issues. You have mental health issues that emerge in childhood, neurodevelopmental disorders.
Okay.
All right. You have schizophrenia and the spectrum of schizophrenia. You have bipolar and the other related disorders with bipolar. You have depressive disorders. You have anxiety disorders. You have obsessive compulsive disorder. You have trauma disorders. You have dissociative disorders. So these are about 7 of the categories. Now, for each category, then there are also subcategories in each one. And so in assessing and evaluating a person's, if they have a mental health issue, you would look at the duration, you look at the history, the intensity, and those are some of the indicators. So it's subcategory within a subcategory within a subcategory to determine. Now, in terms of asking what is most
Common. That's
common,
Yeah.
That's a tricky question.
Yeah, I know that is. Yeah.
And I'm saying that to say, common must be understood within what is recorded, like crime.
I got you.
So you
Yeah.
hear more about this, more about that,
Right.
but there may be other stuff going
That's
on.
not recorded.
The other thing too, maybe in other countries, but in Trinidad, we have a way of throwing wrong terms very loosely. It almost becomes like a fad.
Yes.
Where
Right.
I could wear it as a label on my jersey. Leave me alone, as I bipolar.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
I bipolar,
Yeah.
And it used to be I OCD,
Yes, yes.
Is mental health illness included too when people say I have bad blood? I know a lot of people try. I have bad blood or mad blood,
Oh, mad blood.
Mad
Mad
blood
blood.
and bad blood,
Yeah. So we throw the terms around very, very loosely.
Yes.
Some people talk
Even like
about-
saying like antisocial, you antisocial. Antisocial is actually a category of mental health.
Oh,
So
damn.
it does
My
it
word.
Just
when we
yesterday, I
say-
told somebody I'm antisocial.
Right. When we say we antisocial, we mean sometimes we don't like to socialize with people. But antisocial disorder comes under personality disorder, which is one of the categories. And in personality disorder, there may be about 15 or 16 personality disorders.
I need to
under-
Google this and
So-
find out this thing.
So like
yeah?
being shy Could be a.
No.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Mark,
so,
you're
not
okay.
necessarily so.
You made it. You're
Not
okay.
necessarily so.
Okay. Yeah. You know, so I know you call like there maybe the 7 different categories, right? So how do you go about figuring out where's the treatment for, like, may say, because remember, like, let's say bipolar, that might be something different to, like, say, maybe depression or something.
Right.
So how do you go along?
Well, bipolar is a form of depression.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
so
high
that's
level,
what,
right?
yeah. So how
But-
do you go along,
right.
maybe finding or the
One
treatment?
of the things that as healthcare professionals we are battling with is Mr. Google,
Right.
Oh,
where
Google.
people just
Boy, that,
Your own
that's for
personal
like
doctor.
anything.
Yeah.
and trying to diagnose
Mr.
themselves, come up
Google.
with conclusions,
Even
and
when,
so on.
when you're sick, I always tell people, don't ever Google.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
your first result is, yeah, cancer, yeah.
So by the time they come to you, sometimes people come with, they know what they go, you just help me out to fix it. So the point I'm making in terms of that, it is better to get a healthcare professional, work through a diagnosis, and also get a second opinion.
Okay.
Because humans could be wrong,
Right.
and they could put and pin stuff on you that maybe it's not there.
Right.
So I'm going through my life, and I find like something is missing or something is not there. I don't go high end and say I'm going to see a psychiatrist. We generally do a lot of healing with our friends and family.
That's true.
A lot of healing. They just talk through and
Yes.
that. And if it's not there, there's still a place for spiritual counsel and advice.
Right.
You see?
Right.
And you're sounding board. And then, of course, you may go to a counselor
Right.
if needs be. And then, you may go to a psychiatrist. And so you
Yeah.
work through the thing. And rather than, I have found some people, they love the labels because it gives them an excuse for behavior.
Yes.
Yeah, sure,
I
right.
have discovered that too.
Yeah, sure, right.
Being involved in ministry,
Yeah, love the labels.
people, they quickly want to grab onto the labels.
Yes.
So it gives them as an excuse to continue with the behavior.
Correct.
whatever the
Right.
behavior is.
It's true.
Without too much blame, you know. But I can't
Exactly.
help it. That's
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have an issue, you know, I have a problem.
Years ago, I taught at a certain school, and I taught intro to psychology. And I had a student, she was walking up and down, actually disturbing the class. And I called her, says, listen, young lady, you need to settle down. I have attention deficit disorder. My mother carried me, and the doctor said I have attention disorder.
This is an adult?
A young person.
So,
in
so
their
you didn't stop
teens.
until
Oh, in the
in the
teens.
teens.
Okay.
You didn't stop until you're responding very well right now. You know?
So
Your
no,
attention good.
I said, well, if your doctor diagnosed you with ADHD, then I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist. I said, but you will fail the course.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah, because no way
And-
somebody with that.
and she did.
Right.
And she did.
wow.
And she had to repeat, and that semester she was cured.
She was good. She started walking.
She got supernaturally cured. Wow.
Interesting stuff.
So I think I wanted to ask, like, how come, I would think we mentioned this before, in my days, which were not too long ago, you know, when I was
Okay,
in
got you,
school.
I got you.
yeah? I don't think I
Black and white.
encountered,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I encountered anybody in my, let's say, class with autism or ADHD or, you know, I guess those labels weren't there yet, I guess, or it wasn't diagnosed to be that, but I'm sure there were people in my class with, you know, certain
Right,
disorders, but somehow they seem to be able to blend in somewhat. Yes, you know, we would call them the strange ones, or we would, you know, but they got by, they did their exams, they finished school, and they, you know, they still, you could, when you see them, you say, that person was always strange.
Right.
But they're in society, but they don't have this label. But it seems to me now that I'm meeting parents on almost a daily basis that are telling me I have a child who's autistic, or my child has ADHD, and I'm like, where is ADHD? If I told if we display the symptoms of ADHD as a child, I would just get licked, and I would have to go and humble myself in the corner. This is how I see it, right? But now they're putting this label on children, saying they have ADHD, and it allows them to continue, and they
Right,
put them in
right,
special schools where they could, you know, display this behavior without, I guess, being judged or a stigma. So I am really wondering how it has become such a common thing now.
Well, I would say three things. One, in the field, there's a shift from, and I'm using the technical term, from the intrapsychic, meaning do not look for the problem in the individual again. Look for it in the environment. I don't necessarily agree with all of that.
Right.
And part of the reality that they're trying to advocate is that the world has become a different place. The support systems are no longer there. So whereas in growing up, there was this collective caring,
Yes.
Yeah.
Within your
support
community,
system.
Yeah.
Today you're on your own.
Right.
So some of the things, even from the education, I'm an educator, but even from the educational system, we sometimes didn't know the teacher's name. All you know, she was teacher.
Right.
Teacher this and teacher that and teacher that. And a surrogate parent who
Yeah.
would cover by extension. Today you have some, not all, some teachers, they are more concerned about transfer of content. And if you
Yes.
learn, you learn. That's your business.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So that a lot of children who may have issues is now will be showing up because there's no safety net or catchment
Okay, I got you.
to protect them.
Right.
That's one. The second thing is this: mental health issue. It has always been a stigma.
Yeah.
Right.
So now that there's awareness and there's attempt to remove the ignorance and stigma, people are now going and getting tested.
Okay.
And so they can now put some kind of a description to the behavior. And so it will come up on the radar now. But it's always there. It will come up on the radar.
But one of the things I would say change a lot in school would be corporal punishment. You think that changed the dynamics of how children would behave?
Let me put on my psychology hat, right? One theory of psychology is behavior modification.
Right.
It does not have to do with transformation.
Yes.
And so what corporal punishment did actually, it just had behavior modification.
Right.
And so to avoid punishment, I behave a particular way.
I didn't do
And
that.
then the thinkers and educators of our day says, look, that is cruel.
Yeah.
Talk, reason, show options, and that kind of a way. Whether that has had the effect, I have not done any studied,
Yeah.
survey to say, okay, it was like this, now it's like that. Many teachers reported, however, that it seemed that the students got empowered.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That the system is on my side,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
cannot touch me.
Yes.
And that has been one of the fallout as well. But I know some colleagues, they are strong against corporal punishment.
Right.
That's out of the question. That's so cruel. It clashes with some biblicists
Yes.
Right.
who would say,
Beat them, they will not die.
Yeah. I guess
foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child.
I would say as a minister, I could explain. I could maybe just say that in the flesh, even as a big person, the flesh is tempt people. So as a child, they have different issues tempting them,
Yeah.
going the struggles in their flesh.
Yes.
And part of what punishment or the licks would do is try to maybe subdue that flesh man from activating.
That's what I'm saying, just
You
modifying
understand?
the behavior.
Yeah.
And
so
it kind of protects
It
them
does,
too.
it protects them from
People
a lot
call
of
it
things.
cruel. It
Yes,
protects
it's
them too.
modified.
I saw a young couple in the mall in the food court, trying to talk the baby. The girl looked like maybe 2.5, 3.
Right.
Trying to talk her out of coming down from the top of the table they were eating on.
Right.
And I'm watching this thing, and they're trying to reason with her, as you
Yes,
said.
yes.
And I'm watching it, and as a parent myself, and I want to go and help them.
Help
On my
them.
And I'm saying, why are they trying to reason with this 2-year-old
Right.
and trying to talk her down from the table, And I'm saying, wow, what if this is how life is going to be? Then, because if you're talking down is not working, you have to try something. You can't just continue doing that.
But in another context that where it's very litigious,
Yeah.
you spank the child. I call the cops for you.
Right.
And, and that there's that fear there. I have a friend who lives in North America, and her strategy, she would send her children down every July, August, and say to her mother, gave them a good cocktail for me.
Because she can't do it.
Put them out and send
Send
them
them
back.
back.
But they pick up on it.
So she didn't move her. Sugar.
So you had a third one, though. You gave us.
Right.
Yeah.
So that we talk about the shift that has occurred in terms of the net to support.
Right.
So then it's been exposed. And then, of course, there is the stigma that has been removed.
Removed, right.
Right.
And once the stigma is removed now, people are now seeking out
Right.
and getting their thing. Now, the third thing that is happening within the system is that we find families are becoming, because of the awareness, they're becoming more proactive.
Okay.
Right.
So rather than sit and say, I wonder what happened with my little girl. Because what happens in the past, there are some parents who denied that
They had a
my
problem.
child no autistic or my child don't have no problem. Everybody else is seeing it
Yeah.
except that particular
The
parent
parent.
who is in denial. So with the awareness now, we are finding parents being more proactive
Right.
to say, you know what? Because back then we didn't have all of these support systems like the Autistic Society and
Yeah.
it wasn't there. You
Yeah.
battle alone.
Yeah.
And with the shame-based culture that we sometimes have, you hide the child
Yes.
Yeah.
out of public and that kind of a thing.
And also thinking you're protecting them, and
Right.
from
Good.
bullies and
Right.
different things like that. Yeah.
So we see more proactive parents now
Okay.
come into the thing because now I have to admit, being a form teacher in certain places and so on, sometimes when you call a parent in and you try to identify, oh gosh, you're public enemy number one.
Oh, no. How you
So
can
we
see that from the
constantly
child.
appeal to parents.
Well, we see
To
that
be
we see
sensitive.
that normally in bigger cases too. When your
Right.
son murdered him, man, he was a good boy.
Yeah.
They have this delusion about what's really going on in the person's life. But you know, so see, now we talk about, you know, you diagnose, you sit down with it, you maybe figure out what is the problem, right? My question is, where now does medicine, right? Like you say, take a pill, whatever the case may be, right? How medication really helps, or does it really help in the first place? That's my
Right.
question. I have.
It depends on if the assessment of the person or the client is treated as a medical condition.
Right.
Because-
I just
so-
asking, where's maybe an example of a medical
No,
condition?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
But to give the example, let me go another way.
Okay.
So I could have a mental health issue primarily because I'm on drugs. So
Right.
I don't need no more medication.
Right.
You
Yeah.
need to come
I
off
need to
it.
be right.
Right.
I need to be detox.
Right.
Okay.
You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is not. I could have a medical, I could have, a mental health thing because I had a nasty fall where it might have done brain damage.
Right.
So
Like
there's-
some people might get in an accident, different
correct,
things, and
that
never
thing.
really, yeah.
Then there's some people who have abnormal growth,
Okay.
you see, and that might affect how they behave and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So medication then may come in when there may be a chemical imbalance.
Okay.
And there's a attempt now to, either it's too high or it's too low. And the medication is attempt now to stabilize to some level of normalcy
Okay.
the balance in the chemicals. On the other hand now, you may have some people who are violent, aggressive, and they may need to be sedated. So the medication may just, and what it does is actually slows down your central nervous system, keep you in a state of calmness.
Let's turn them into zombies.
Yes, and some
Joking,
people
yeah.
feel that, you know, and that's where the medication plays
Right.
an important role. Some people may be anxious, and they may have to be given anxiety, depressants, and so on to keep them calm. Like some people who have problem with insomnia and so on, and the various type of medication to actually keep them calm, to sleep and to rest and so on and so forth.
Okay, okay.
So like
Insomnia is
Antidepressants and so on.
not being able to sleep is a type of
A type of,
anxiety.
No, it can lead to some.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
okay. I understand
And then
what
some
you're
people who have mental health, they may not be able to sleep. Their mind is
Because their
constantly
mind is
racing,
constantly
racing.
racing, yeah.
I have
And
a
so this-
question though,
so
a
they-
personal question. Sometimes I just laugh uncontrollably for a while. And people see watch. It's be like for no apparent reason.
Pastor Hamilton, I
So
think
you want to get diagnosed live, right?
we neglected to tell you that
You are free
this is our resident comedian. Huh? Take everything he says with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's free session. You are free session live here.
Yeah, I realize that.
No, the reason why I asked that question, right?
Yeah.
Because yes, the medication, and they're saying maybe sometimes it's just to suppress situations, right? Now, we would see online like they're selling a product for any kind of different things, like with
Right.
certain issues. But then they tell you there's a side effect of all these different things, right?
Right.
So could medication now you take activate or make you worse off in situations where you're taking something for like, well, I mean, they actually do tell you that, right? They could insomnia, do all kind of different things there, right? But asking, could medication actually make you?
Actually, Food and Drug Organization in the US, you are required to say to the patient, the client, what are the side effects.
Right, yeah.
The challenge we have with doing that healthcare is that you cannot isolate. It's like doing sometimes radiation. You're trying to kill the bad cells,
Right.
but
without
it's in a
interfering with
cluster,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
and so the good cells are affected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the reality that we face. So that when I take a medication, it doesn't necessarily go directly to that area and it's localized.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow.
It can now shut down other parts of you.
right.
But, yeah.
So you have to almost weigh now. Are the side effects greater than
Yeah.
the thing I'm trying to
I
cure?
understand
And,
now.
and that's the kind of judgment call. So if I forewarn you, say, all right, you take this, but it may cause insomnia, diarrhea, suicidal thoughts, and you see the list there, say, well, I just have this.
Right.
I just have this.
Oh,
And
drug cause suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. Like what in?
no, what happens is that it may lower the level of the serotonin in your system, and you go into depressive states and moods.
Okay.
See, and once you go into a place of depression, then life doesn't seem worth living, anymore. That kind of
I have a question, right? This is actually going into the next segment, right? But just maybe I don't know how you would answer it, right?
Yes.
But seeing that I personally believe there's a spiritual realm,
right.
and I believe, we have a God inside of us, our mind, to protect us from certain elements, to where the spiritual side, because I believe we made up in three parts, right? Spirit, soul, and body. So it means you have a flesh, a body, and I wonder in this, right? Like it takes certain drugs to suppress certain things. Does that now pull on your guard to be open to other things? Catch where I'm coming from, right? Now, if it is a subdue, maybe
Subdue your flesh to
your
become
flesh
more- and you become
open,
more spiritually
aware
aware,
to certain things. You know, you understand where I'm
Yeah,
from,
I
right?
understand what you're
So
saying.
does that now open up the door now to maybe spiritual things affecting your life or being more aware of it? So I'll give you an example, right? Like I said, depression and it will low down your level. My question is, why does it always lead down to bad things? Nobody has ever actually take like drugs and it make you more happy. It make you feel to go and hug up your wife. It make you feel to go and do this.
Oh yeah, there are hallucinations
Yeah, I know,
drugs that
yeah.
will make you very happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Elated.
smoking weed and thing, right? But I'm
Elated.
talking about like the
Yeah,
side
but that's
effects.
drugs. We're talking
Yeah.
about medication.
Medication, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the same
Really?
kind. But well, you have what you call illegal.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
right.
I'm
But-
not talking about smoking weed and thing, but not about specific drugs there, but yeah.
Yeah.
But you catch my point I'm trying
Yeah,
to comment,
I'm
right?
grabbing you.
How come certain,
Well-
like when people say they like, is
Schizophrenic.
and they don't normally tell people good things. How come it's always be like, your mommy, there's cuss and they do different, how come it don't ever
Or they
be...
become violent,
Yeah, they become
or-
violent. How come it don't ever actually lead to good things?
What I want not to do
Yeah.
is to reduce in very simple terms and without being complex.
Yeah, I
simple
understand,
terms,
but so that's why I'm
that's
asking,
kind of one-dimensional because
Right.
there's so many other stuff that might be happening to an individual.
Yeah.
So, let me give you a for example. Some people say like when you're going insane, you get religious.
Right.
Okay? Preach the Bible.
Right.
But hold on a while. Could it be that the person have a whole heap of religious stuff already on the inside?
Right.
And at this point of vulnerability, that is what is manifesting.
Right.
Right.
Suppose this person have a set of unforgiveness, bitterness stuff locked inside here.
Yeah.
And so here's the point I'm getting at.
Right.
In one theory, our mind is like in three layers. You have the conscious mind.
Right.
That's where we are able to monitor and control our environment. But then you have what you call the pre-conscious mind.
Right.
And your preconscious mind is thoughts that are accessible to you, but not currently in your mind. So
Okay.
right now, there's some thoughts that are accessible to you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I
That's
get to
all
one
to
thing
your
about
mind.
it, but not in my mind.
Right.
So I could tell you, what am I going to ask you?
I have
You
no
don't know.
clue. Yeah.
But I say, what you had for breakfast yesterday?
And you
That
could
I
go
still
and
don't
find-
know. I'll bury that. I'm joking.
Right. So see, so
Yeah,
it was not in
right.
your conscious mind, but you bring it
you
up.
can bring
Yeah,
it up.
But then you have the unconscious.
Right.
This is the thoughts that are not accessible to you.
Okay.
And so, psychoactive drugs brings the unconscious conscious. So like when you go, for example, someone going for surgery and they do their general anesthetic, they knock you out.
Yeah.
And you could come out of there, Christian or no Christian, causing all kind of obscene.
Okay.
I say, well, how Christian obscene? Stuff in the unconscious mind could come out. So you could come out in sleep, come out through drugs, and
Right.
so on and so forth. So once the drug is a psychoactive drug, it is not just touching your conscious mind. It
Okay.
is speaking also to your unconscious
Okay.
mind, and all kind of ugly things or pretty things could come out because the accumulation of who we are. Think of it. There are things we have seen and heard that we have not consciously remembered, but it's lodged. It's lodged. It's lodged. But for survival, the mind screens out only what is important.
Right.
So I could focus on this. But there's a whole heap of stuff coming. People in the advertising industry, they play on that subliminal messages while you're not consciously listening. They're sending messages. So it's registering somewhere.
Yeah.
Registering somewhere. The other thing that's very important here is that the conscious mind was not designed to contain trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
We will trip, as you would say.
Right.
And so part of what is called a defense mechanism, we push it out of our conscious awareness. But it doesn't go away. It just
Okay.
go under.
Right.
And under different situations and trigger and drug, that stuff also comes out.
Okay.
It comes out. It comes out.
Okay. Okay.
You brought something to my memory with my grandmother. Just before she died, well, you know, she died at 92. She started to become, what was the word?
Dementia?
Right. It's like not a lot, right? But we could tell, you know, little
Something's
signs,
happening,
right?
yes.
And one day she wasn't feeling well, and I said to her, "No, we grew up Catholic up until, well, the whole family gave their lives to Christ. I would say maybe I was 10 years old, so that's a few years ago, right?
Got you.
They were all Catholic, so she was Catholic most of her life until maybe her 50s, 60s, right? And so in her 90s now, I asked her, I said, you know, let's pray. I'll pray with you, and she's praying. And she starts praying, Hail Mary, Mother of God. And so I was like, no, this is something she hadn't done for
Right. Right.
30 years, right? That she didn't pray that way anymore. So when she started saying Hail Mary, I stopped her and I said, no, you know, not, why Hail Mary? We praying to Jesus, you know? And she said, okay. And then when she started back again, it was like automatic that she started saying Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord.
Yeah.
So I was like, where did that come from? Those were my words. I
Right.
was like, where
And
did
how
that
the
come
memory
from?
work, you know, you have short and long-term memory. And when dementia and stuff like that comes in, a person might be catapulted back to the long-term memory.
Sorry.
Okay,
It's
okay.
way down
Yeah.
inside that and it comes out.
Well, let me go, you know, we come back to it. Let me go back to the comment section and where it is going on online there, Eva.
All right, so we actually had a few questions. So let me get into those one time. I have Nat
Lord, is that
Asia asking, can you touch on narcissism?
And what's up?
So I don't know if you probably want to get into that when we come back to you. You got that right?
No,
One second. You
the
go
music
try and
is
read
too
by
loud.
time. Let's go try and read by time,
Music
man.
too loud outside.
All right.
It's a part of the volume in front for our commentary system because we can't hear.
Okay, so we have two persons actually asking for your perspective on narcissism. That would have been from Crystal and Asia, I believe. We have Aaliyah James Dollabile. Depression and anxiety is very common. I noticed she mentioned difficulties with stress management. I'm not sure if she's asking or if she just made a comment based on what you all were talking about. So far, touching on narcissism. Lyndon Thomas, how can one and who can discern the difference between a mental health disorder on whether it is physical, spiritual, or both?
Okay.
Which is something I believe we'll kind of get into
We'll
in
probably-
the next
yeah,
segment.
yeah.
So, Lyndon Thomas, be sure to stay tuned. We're going to get into that in detail in a little bit, all right? Renal Medina, in the DSM, under each disorder, there is criteria. So, we use the criteria to determine if they have the disorder or not. As Mr. Hamilton said, the DSM is like the Bible in his field. Crystal Gopal, how can you know if a person has mental health problems?
I think we kind of covered that
Probably
earlier
would
on.
have kind of
Like
covered
what's
that
you
in
know
the
there.
first. Renal Medina, listen, I'm a student of Mr. Hamilton, and as far as licks is concerned, I go by what the Bible says. Don't spare the rod and spoil the child. Of course, I use some techniques I've learned in my psychology degree and now at the master's level, but between 1 to 5 year olds, they need to learn and understand to respect authority and that there are consequences for their actions. It's about age-appropriate discipline.
That's your student, huh? That's not.
That's what they learn.
Aliyah James Dollaby,
the
medication, while it helps one problem, creates another. That could be true. I'm not sure if I did earlier, but let me make sure and say good night to Crystal M. Lewis. And while I'm doing that, let me give you that first giveaway one time. Crystal, you are the winner of our Francis Fashion voucher. Congratulations to you, Crystal. So guys, you all saw how easy that was, right? All Crystal did was comment and she won that giveaway. So we still have the Movie Town voucher and we have also that voucher from Organic Heaven, all right? So all of you who eat organic and all of you who like to watch movies, be sure to comment so you can win that giveaway. So we would like the answers for narcissism. We also had another question. Is Tourette syndrome a mental health illness? That's from Daniel G. So you have all the questions there, right? Mr.
Yeah,
Hamilton?
well,
Yeah?
it's the person asked the question twice. Yeah, dementia and then the so
No.
narcissism. I mean, sorry,
Narcissism.
narcissism. Yeah, sorry.
There was another question though.
The one with
From Lyndon Thomas.
how it is.
Lyndon Thomas was how can one and who can discern the difference between a mental health disorder?
Physical
Well,
or
no,
spiritual.
that's what we're gonna get into
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay,
soon.
yeah.
So that will be answered.
So we'll go along now, but the narcissism and the
Correct.
Tourette's.
Okay. Remember we talk about there is a developmental category. Tourette's will come under the developmental that is showing up in a child. So it would be considered a mental health issue that showed up in children.
So an adult can't develop Tourette's?
No.
Okay.
It's from childhood.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? The second narcissism, in the DSM you have personality disorders, and I say there are about 15 or 17 personality. Narcissism is one of a personality disorder. Basically, it came from Greek mythology where Narcissus, a very handsome hunter, one day he was going on his merry path and he saw a reflection of himself in a river. And he found that the reflection was so beautiful, couldn't move. Stared, pined away, and died because he fell in love with himself.
Even
Yeah, no, Greek mythology. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Did she ask that?
Yeah, for true.
right. So narcissism came out of that as a personality disorder where there's an inordinate self-love. You are absorbed with yourself. So you enter into social spaces, but you cannot connect with other people because you actually believe that you are the number one,
Most important
the
thing.
point of attraction, which leads now to acts of selfishness and so on and so forth. So if you connect with someone who is narcissistic in personality, you have to be ready to live in their shadow. And that's from A to Z.
Does it mostly affect men?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of,
I just
right?
thinking that in the Greek mythology, in the
Yes.
story, it was a man.
Well,
It
you
wasn't
see,
a woman who
Right.
saw her shadow.
No.
they never said what he was seeing in the reflection.
Himself.
himself.
Joking.
No,
That we taught him anyhow. Go ahead.
No, we have a habit of not making a distinction between self-care and self-love. And sometimes we call self-care selfish. And
Right.
so we try to make a clear distinction that love of self is actually supported by the Bible. Love of self is a prerequisite to the loving of a wife. You see,
Okay.
man love his wife as he loves himself, as he loves his neighbor. So there is a place for self-love. Self-care then is when you take care of yourself so that you can take care of others.
Okay.
That's self-care. So like when you fly, they would say cabin pressure will drop. Put the mask on yourself first.
Sorry, I keep
Right?
no,
Put the mask on yourself
Like
first.
a big
Now, that sounds like selfish. But
Yeah.
no, you have to put the mask on yourself
So that you
first
can-
so that you can take care of others.
Right.
So we confuse sometimes self-care. Now, if someone is just putting the mask on themselves first and then forgetting who they, then you've gone to selfishness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're in the zone now of a narcissistic kind of a way of being and thinking and relating and so on.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
And so treatment then is needed. Now, what is important?
treat a
No,
narcissistic
what is
person.
no? There's this point I'm coming to.
Yeah.
What a distinction is made between counseling and therapy. Therapy sometimes is long term, where people have to go through is called deconstruction. So it's not like going and pop a pill and I'm okay. You deconstruct so you can be reconstructed. And somebody must be willing to experience that deconstruction of personality and way of being and life and so on.
and that is that would be a long
Yeah,
term
long term,
thing.
long term.
Yeah.
long term.
Nice where somebody had to really be willing to.
To humble, you have to humble yourself, and I
Yeah.
guess
The first thing
allow
acknowledge if you
yourself
even
to-
have that is when you have this thing sometimes
Yeah.
for people that even acknowledge you have a problem.
Yeah.
You understand? And that is be the long counseling session.
Right. And
That's
the
the most
connection
of it.
and the connection with connecting you in my social network.
Yeah.
You know, and that is critical. in that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask your opinion on something. You mentioned that we have different levels of consciousness, and we have like,
Well, I just said layers, not levels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, good.
I was wondering like when you're sleeping, you're out, you have no type of consciousness.
Right,
going on.
that's where that's why I said during sleep
Yeah.
and drugs, the subconscious level.
So like you think sometimes it's somebody asleep, because people tell me, I went on a work retreat and they say that I laugh in my sleep.
Right,
I
you're a
have no
laugher.
recollection of that.
And that's fine.
Do you-
But no, what happens, what we need to appreciate is that while we sleep, our conscious mind is out.
yeah.
But the external stimuli around us, our organs, you see, autonomic system we call it.
Yeah.
We don't need to be conscious for the heart to keep beating. You don't need to be conscious for your body to be functioning. And so what happens? The body then is still functioning,
true,
but the mind cannot consciously now translate. So let me give you, for example, you could be dreaming fire, and it could be smoke. You see?
Or
There's a
like
common-
yeah,
a
Or
better
you could
one.
be dreaming
the
Go to the
bathroom.
bathroom.
waterfall.
Yeah. That's a common
Or
one.
taking a swim,
Right.
and you wake up in a puddle.
Or you could be dreaming that you're falling, and
yes,
you
you wake
actually-
up coming off the bed. That happens.
Or you could dream that you're caught in a set of weed and you're fighting, you're trying to get out, and it could be the sheet just tie around your foot.
Right.
But the mind cannot consciously translate what is happening. So it's weed, and it's
Some people might be happy to trap in.
so the body. So like for example, when young people going through a nocturnal emission, it may be accompanied by a sexual dream. You see, because the body is, as the mind is associating what's happening with the body. You see, it's very
Okay.
important to appreciate.
So I just was wondering if sometimes the things that you probably don't consciously remember, sometimes when you're sleeping,
Yeah.
if it could come back.
Well, which actually takes us actually into the theory of dreams, which we don't have the time
Oh,
to. So there are
okay.
different, there are
Yeah,
different
that's like a-
theories.
yeah.
There are different theories of dreams. One of the theories of dream is that when you dream, you're trying to sort out what happened during the day, during your conscious awareness, and so on and so forth. See, so that's another. Takes
Okay.
you
that,
another
that could be
level.
that's actually
Yeah.
an interesting show.
Yeah.
Dreams.
Okay,
Yeah.
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 Yes,
Yeah,
I did a
I dream-
whole series at our church on dreams, actually, understanding the function of dreams.
I would
So,
yeah.
what was the
Ava,
other?
another question?
The other one is doing with the spiritual side of it. We get
Oh,
this is side we get
body.
into. Yeah.
2 questions here that I missed, and I don't want to miss any questions. We had Natasha Lucas asking, can you please explain what a sociopath is, and would you say that empathy and sympathy are emotions that are learned from a child, or are they innate? I'll ask the other one when you answer that one.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to
Now,
forget.
when you when you begin to talk about sociopath, you're again into the personality disorder.
Right.
Sociopath is someone who has disconnected from empathy. They're disconnected from empathy. Some years ago, you remember that Peterson case in the States where, he killed his wife with the unborn child and so on, and showing no remorse, no feelings. And so sometimes it's traced to childhood, how animals are treated. They will just kill the cat or,
Right.
right?
So there would have been signs,
Yes.
maybe. That's
So
right.
so there's a disconnect of caring and loving and being empathic with people. It's just cold and clinical. And when something happens, there's no sense of remorse or regret. See? So that's part of the sociopath thing. So the matter of empathy and sympathy, I think you asked.
Yes.
Right, empathy and sympathy. How we treat that is both learned and innate. So the nature nurture thing is both learned and innate.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
Wait, is there
And
anything? Add
the
one more?
Final question would have been, can a born again Christian suffer from anxiety and depression? Which,
Maybe I'll reframe that question. Not can born again Christian,
Right.
is how can we help born again Christians suffer who are suffering from that?
Right. I think obviously the answer is yes. 'Cause
Yeah,
somebody
yes,
sure-
yes,
yeah.
But you did mention like about the mind, and sometimes we could have trauma and different things. But like a Bible verse that came to my mind is like where we could literally, like the Bible says, put on the mind of Christ. So I was wondering if that's like God's therapy for us to just switch our mind out.
I guess you would see in different
Yeah.
situations, different things, right?
It also says
well,
you have to renew your mind.
it depends on what that
Not
means.
just- Yeah.
Put on the mind of Christ.
Okay.
That passage in Philippians actually speaks about attitude.
Okay.
But the mind is a different frame of reference, because when you talk correctly, when we look at the mind itself, there's so much the Bible speaks about the mind. We talk about gird up the loin of your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
What does that mean? Renew your mind, or the spirit of your mind.
Right.
I'll keep you in perfect peace if your mind is focused
Yeah.
on me.
Right.
You see? Then, of course, the famous Romans 12, where it says, do not be conformed, but be transformed
Right.
by the renewing of the mind. So there's several things that the mind will have to work through there. So
As
love
a
the
believer.
Lord thy God, all your heart, all your soul, all your mind.
Right.
That again.
So as we get into like the more spiritual side of it, right? I think Mark, you wanted to read maybe a story in the Bible. Yeah, you have
Oh.
it. Yeah. And maybe
Watch
it
his
comes.
phone all the way down there and stuff.
You have
you
it?
can go ahead.
Yeah.
As in
Comes from Matthew. Because I would like to know, we talk about like the mental side of it, right? Maybe my question: do you believe that there's a spiritual side to certain issues in people's life are asking, like when it maybe even in a simple area like depression and things? Do you think that there's spiritual elements involved in? No, obviously I'm not asking this in the case of all scenarios, right? Because just
Right.
now you paint a picture, maybe not necessary for everybody. That's gonna be a general thing. But
Right.
you think also, spiritually, do you think that there's spiritual elements that could affect somebody?
Now, we're talking to a audience that have different lens.
Yeah.
All right. So they have different lens. So I generally try to argue a case,
Okay.
and my case is this. Traditionally, we have two broad branches of acquiring knowledge:
Right.
rationalism, which is reason, and empiricism, which is science. So the empiricist says, well, you have to test this to know if it is true. Test tube and whatever.
Right.
The rationalist says it have to make sense, logic.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of our young people are going into higher education. That's what they're taught: rationalism, empiricism,
Yeah.
rationalism. In the middle there's faith.
Okay.
And so faith-based community must now argue very strongly that there is a place for knowledge through faith.
Right.
Because rationalism and empiricism cannot produce the evidence of knowledge all the time. What I have found that Christians have done, unfortunately, is knock rationalism and knock empiricism.
Right.
You know, and I think Jesus supports all three. Let me
Right.
give you an example. Let's go with the empiricist. I need to see, I need to feel, I need to test. Thomas says, I would not believe until I see and I touch. Jesus says, here's my hand, you touch.
Right.
So that's an empirical evidence that I am alive.
Right.
I go across to Nicodemus. Rationalism. Jesus says, you must be born again. He says, huh? How can a man be old, go into his mother's womb? Because that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right.
So Jesus doesn't blow away Nicodemus. He points him to the third.
Right.
But let me go back to our rationalism approach of Jesus. He says something like this. Which one of you going to build a house, don't first sit down and calculate what it costs?
Right.
Least it becomes an embarrassment to you. Or which general going to war, don't first sit down and calculate. Because there are a lot of people say, we don't need to calculate, we need a faith. If you're going to build a building, let's build it in faith.
Yes, but it by faith.
No budget. Forget the budget. Forget the budget.
And they will be embarrassing. They didn't count the cost, but go ahead.
Right.
I'm
They,
sorry to
they don't
laugh,
count the
but
cost.
that is so true.
So there's a place for rationalism, but there's a place also for empiricism.
Yeah.
But in the middle there, there's a verse I love. I'm coming to your thing. There's a verse I love. Is it Hebrews 11 and verse 3. Here's what it says. By faith, we understand the world was created.
Right.
Right.
So notice the order. Faith led to understanding. Not the other way around. Because some people say, I have to understand to believe.
Right.
The Bible says you could believe to understand.
Right.
Right.
You know, there is one of the church father, Saint Augustine. You have the Augustinian dictum that says, I believe to understand.
Right.
And then Anselm of Canterbury says, you know, it's faith seeking understanding, not the other way around. So having said that, and if we could admit that there are things that's outside the empirical and rational domain, we could then create a conversation about faith.
Okay.
And faith-based conversations will go something like this. Hey, listen, my thoughts, how do you put that in a test tube? But it's real.
Right.
It's real.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The breeze that's blowing, you cannot empirically, but you see the evidence of it. So
Right.
there's a conversation to start, right? Even scientists begin with a hypothesis, which is actually faith, a hunch.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they
True.
test it.
Yeah.
So what we are saying here, there's a place for that conversation of the spirit world.
Right.
And with the spirit world now, we are saying, what constitutes that?
Okay.
Which takes you in all kind of direction now. But what constitutes that spirit world? So when you look at the human condition, now, I'm coming home now. When you look at the human condition, you can say, all right, physically, we could be affected with sicknesses and diseases.
Right.
That's undeniable.
Yeah.
You can be affected with sicknesses and diseases.
Yeah.
So you could do the empiricism, the rationalism, and so on and so forth. Okay. Mentally, we see that we could be affected mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've accepted that.
Yeah.
Environmentally, we are also affected. Socially, we are affected. You know, just this morning I was doing a session with the church and I was saying there are 5 or 6 areas when you look at the Genesis account that human beings were affected. People were affected spiritually. Their relationship with God was broken and He drove them out. People were affected physically. They died.
Right.
People were affected socially. Adam threw Eve under the bus. It's not amazing, woman you gave me.
Right.
People affected environmentally, thorns and thistles.
Yes. Yeah.
People affected psychologically. They were not ashamed when they were naked, but then fear came.
Yeah.
So all areas of the human condition. So in bringing now mental health into the conversation, we now must position the spiritual world.
Right.
And in positioning the spiritual world, you have a case, I'm going to the physical now, you have a case of a woman who is physically bent for years. From a medical, empirical standpoint, she probably have some kind of a back problem.
Yeah.
Jesus comes and He says, she's bound by Satan.
Yeah.
And He spoke that word, and she sits.
Mm-hmm.
There's this boy who have a epileptic seizures.
Yeah. That's actually the verse we wanted to do.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And, and behind all of that, there was a demonic activity.
Right.
And Jesus spoke to that. There's a woman who have a clairvoyant spirit.
Mm-hmm.
She is speaking things about Paul. These men are the servants of the Most High God. And
So
3
it's
days, 3 days she did that. And then something got checked in Paul's spirit. Said, something not right about this.
Yeah.
Right.
And she had a spirit of divination.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he challenged that. And that spirit came out. So I'm not sure that the courts of today or the philosophers of today are ready to admit
Yeah.
the spiritual
Spiritual side of it.
dimension of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the church should be quiet
Mm-hmm.
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there is a place for the spiritual.
Yeah.
Now, from my own experience, what I found is that the demonic realm, and I see Satan as an opportunist,
Mm-hmm.
so that once there's a crack, and sometimes the crack could be a trauma,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
rape, violence,
Yeah.
this. And with that crack, he gets an opportunity to build a stronghold
Right.
Right.
in a person's life. So we're not talking only here about demon possession. You could have demon oppression
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
of
of
course.
the mind, of the body, of the spirit, of the thinking, and so on.
Well,
and so,
I just agree to the person question. I personally believe Christians, believers, they get demon possessed, they get oppressed
Yes.
because the spiritual side of us are bought by Jesus. So
Right.
a demonic
demon.
spirit do have that right. You catch where I'm coming from? To
Yeah, no,
possess
definitely,
you.
definitely,
They could oppress
definitely.
you in your body and they could do
Definitely.
different. You catch where I'm coming from,
Mind.
right?
but see, Paul used the concept of a stronghold. You know?
Yeah.
And when you think the stronghold, it's really cast in the Old Testament frame where you had to conquer in the land of Canaan, city by city, state by state, state by state. It wasn't like, okay, we come into Canaan and everybody, no. And so certain places could be garrisons or strongholds. So I own this here, but you see this place here,
That's a strong.
it is not surrendered yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there are some believers, there are areas of their lives that's still under demonic control
yeah.
because they have not surrendered all spaces to God. So let's look at mental health that may come through unforgiveness.
Yeah.
So someone hurt me real badly and I make a decision. So help me, God. I'm not forgiving you.
Right.
So that's fertile ground now.
Yes.
Fertile ground
Yes. Yeah.
for all kinds of a seeds.
Yeah.
So it's like a garden you have, and they say, I like that garden. I'll throw a seed. I'm not worried about it growing right now, but it's growing.
Yeah.
And it strangulates and it's stronger because this unforgiveness turns into resentment. Resentment turns into bitterness. And so we have had
Reminding
to
somebody.
we've had to work with deliverance of people who have unforgiveness for their father, a lot of father issues.
Yeah.
Young men who hate. And it's actually that disconnect in their soul that this opportunist spirit get an opportunity to fill.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I shudder, I was sharing with some of my minister friends, I shudder when I look at a verse with fresh eyes in Matthew where it says, when a demon comes out of a man, he makes a double take.
Yeah.
So that spirits need to occupy spaces. And our human spirit need to be occupied. So if
Yes.
it's not occupied with God,
It will be
something
occupied.
else will occupy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the enemy makes a double back now. And he says, oh, clean.
Dry places.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what I shudder? I shudder because Jesus says, so shall it be with this generation. And I said, whoa.
Oh boy.
Because I used to personalize it a lot. There's a man who got delivered and so, but say, so shall it be with this generation. So a generation of unbelief, of rejecting the Lord, they have opened up themselves to all kind of demonic
Yeah.
activities and so on.
It's scary
true.
to think about
Right.
as you said that.
So deliverance for me is not an event. It's a
Right.
process. So let's say I have a gateway that comes to mental health issues, I have to attend to the mental health,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have to attend to the gateway,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
right? Or I cast out the demon, I have to attend to the mental health issue
Right.
because it remains a fertile soil down inside there.
Right.
So it's not an either or for me. And I think, unfortunately, what the church have done, we pray for people, we say, you're well, you're whole, you're delivered, and then we leave them unattended.
Right.
Right.
Nobody to walk with them.
Right.
I guess with the element you're bringing in is like maybe a renewed mind.
Yes,
Those
exactly.
different things, because even though a demonic spirit go, the thoughts that are still there, it just don't live 1 minute. You just don't forget you get abused. You don't just forget you catch track of it
Correct,
from
correct,
The
correct.
elements still there where now you have to actually, because Satan, the way Satan has access people really life is really through lies. A lie they believe in, he could come into their mind, their thoughts, because he's the father of lies, right? So wherever you believe a lie, there's room for Satan. Well, he's the one who bring it up, and he's the philosopher behind lies, right? So wherever lies exist, it's his playground to do affect you with different things, right? So that's the reason you read the guy in the Bible, he would say, we are legion, for we are many.
Right.
So you realize when you pray for people, there are many issues they have in their life on different spiritual things. And it's not linked to one thing. So sometimes people begin with unforgiveness because them now to be promiscuous.
Correct.
That they do all kind of different things in their
Right,
life. And
right.
you catch where I'm coming from, right?
Well, I normally put two maxims when I'm working.
Yeah.
The first is this, and I read it by an author called Green. He says, we tell the convert today is the day of salvation, but we don't tell them what tomorrow is for.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
one.
It's true, you know.
And the other maxim I use that, you see that guy that was healed in Acts chapter 3? You know, he was begging alms of
Yeah,
Peter
yeah,
and
and Silver,
Peter,
and
right?
yeah.
You know, somebody raised a question. Okay, he got healed today. You have to go and look for work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But who will give him, if he have a spirit of dependency,
Right.
he
yeah.
need to go through rehab to come off welfare.
Right.
Yeah.
And who wants to come off welfare?
Yeah.
There are people I see in Trinidad, they keep bending up their hand all over the highway to make money as soon as they
That's what I was
pass.
talking about. You see people who acting mad, but they're not really that way. you know.
Yes.
They just
Yeah.
Well, they could put it back
Oh,
after.
yeah, of course. Of
Yeah,
course.
because
Fix
one of the reasons I want to just maybe read the story, just a little piece of it, right? Because I just find it interesting. One of the biggest thing is, that's when I read the story about the person who was caught in the cave and Jesus
Right.
went to set him
Right.
free, right? I just maybe quote a little piece of it, right? It actually comes from Mark chapter 5. Let me just find the exact verse, right? The verse comes from, I read from 5, right? Always at night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs crying and cutting himself with stones.
Right.
But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and he cried with a loud voice and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, Son of God, the Most High God? I adjure thee by God, that thou do not torment me, right? And for he said unto him, Come out of this man, you unclean spirit. Now
Right.
I find this interesting. Jesus was not talking to the man. And even the person that came up to the man, Jesus was not addressing the person.
Right.
He was actually addressing an unclean
The
spirit
demon,
in the
yes.
man. But here's but Jesus obviously knew he talking to a demon or unclean spirit, right? Now, the reason why I'm saying that is that many times in even people behavioral thoughts, they like we use, I think you thought you asked that question off here, I guess, right?
Which
But it's
one?
like how sometimes people be talking to them in a different tone, a different voice,
Oh, right.
a different, and many times you question where that voice, because I see it many times in deliverance, right?
Right.
You're praying for somebody and something manifests, and it actually speaking to you and it acting different, it talking to you different. But if you would see that sometimes in this is not something about, I'll explain to this, right? Sometimes like through just interact with youths, you see certain behavioral patterns. They're talking, they're acting a certain way, right? And they just slip up once in a moment. They act a certain way.
Right.
But when we pray for them, that exact behavior come up, and it's actually a spiritual element
Correct.
speaking to you, right? So the reason I'm saying that is that many times people have issues, and you're seeing a certain behavioral pattern. Many times it's a spiritual being that's present there, but it's just many times that they give place to it. So I'll give you an example, right? That many times people, like when they talk, once he's praying for somebody, the reason why all our problems came is she got abused.
Right.
So he's casting out all kind of different demonic things.
Right,
But when
right.
that demonic spirit of unforgiveness came up,
Right.
it started to replay in her mind that the issue that happened with her father.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute she came up and she said, no, I can't forgive him.
Right. Right.
But when we was trying to explain to her that what you were really seeing, yes, it's a real thing, but the reason why it came up, how come I wasn't thinking it all the time? The reason why it came up is a spiritual being trying to remind you and it doesn't actually want to go. The reason why I
Right.
don't, like I said, it want a host, right? It don't
Right,
want to
exactly,
it want to
exactly,
interact with this
exactly.
world. You know what I mean? It want to do things. It want to water. It want to, yeah, it want to be
Drink
tormented.
water.
I just said it don't want to be tormented. It want pleasures before. Yeah, you catch what I mean?
yeah.
It want to experience something, right?
Yeah.
Now, I guess in this field, like you're explaining, that there's a whole world where this is not right. As much as mental health, right? That's what I was going to say, right? But I make a mistake, right? Health issues come up. It seems that there's also a danger in just making it aware that they want to make it acceptable. Where yes,
Okay.
you have this issue. Yes, you have this issue. We just need to be aware of it, and we need to maybe be a little more careful how we treat you, and which is all good. But part of it, there's a sense of maybe acceptance because, like you rightfully say,
Like with
that
the
there's some
ADHD.
issues that medically they realize they can't fix. They might just give you a drug to maybe just suppress your thoughts, suppress your feelings, because there's an issue in your life. Maybe it just can't. And really and truly, we understand spiritually the reason why it can't change is because there's an element where you need to deal with. You catch where I'm coming from? But so I think I understand the point that they must is human beings and you're not treating them because you want to love them. But now, how do we really deal with the issue of when there's something more that medical intervention can't help?
But what I'm concerned about today
Yeah.
is that we quit the guessing game.
Right.
I think there's need for a genuine encounter with God
Yeah, sure, right, yeah.
that helps us in the discernment. Because discernment cannot be taught in the classroom.
Yeah.
You know, there are some framework stuff that you can see, but ask God for discerning eyes, so that while I may say this is epileptic with my natural eyes, the spiritual eyes go beyond that.
Yeah.
And so there are two areas of the discernment. I see there's power encounter and there's truth encounter.
Right.
Truth encounter is when the demonic uses people's thoughts and minds to speak things as lies.
Right.
That's contrary to God's purpose. And you have to call it out.
Yeah, sure.
That's
right.
what
That
Jesus did.
with Peter, yeah.
Right. You call it out. So he said, no, you're not going to die. I said, get thee behind me, Satan.
Right.
Right now, what you're thinking didn't come from God.
Yeah.
So that the truth encounter, we need to call it truth encounter.
Yeah.
So I've seen some people say, well, you know, I have a spirit of depression, and I have to call that. No, you see that depression
Yeah.
you call in there,
Yeah.
and you medicate. That's a spiritual thing that you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one. And then we need the power encounter to actually engage these spirits that be. But the truth and the power have to work also for me with empiricism and rationalism, because I don't think that they're in opposition to one another
Yeah.
as we have set it up.
Right.
We have set it up.
I understand what you're saying. So, but how is boil along a lot of different things, like with the area of sickness. I mean, I don't know if you would equate it to the same thing, right? But I was always ask the question, if Jesus, you have a real encounter with Jesus, like
Right.
you're reading the Bible, wherever the situation is, do you think Jesus would leave somebody in the same condition? And I think the answer to that, I think would be no. What I mean is, like, even if you are, like, medically, they say the condition has come to a place where medically that you have a problem, I think Jesus would heal the person. Yeah, you catch where I'm coming from, right? Unless if it's something spiritually,
Right.
when you encounter him, so you realize sometimes Jesus will say, was it easier to say you're forgiven or take up your bed and
Then
go?
go, right.
So I believe in any scenario, I believe once you encounter Jesus, because he's the creator. So if you have something, maybe you're going through an accident and something, I believe Jesus could heal that. So I believe, like you're rightfully saying, as believers, we must believe in the power of God in a real tangible way, you know what I mean, and that to be able to help people, and
Indeed.
because God, he's willing, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean. And so today we just want to read the comment section before we close off, and I guess any final thought you maybe want to share, and you go ahead, Eva.
We had some actual comments here. Okay.
This is a segment when people just normally just soak it in.
Oh.
Yeah, they really have
Just
all
give me
these
1
questions.
second. My browser closing error. Kyle, I don't know if you want to continue the browser itself just now. I think I'm getting it back up now, but it might just be a minute or a few seconds.
Any final thoughts you want to close off with by time?
Well, I want to say thanks for the opportunity to speak
Sure.
to this issue, because by and large the church have retreated
Yeah.
such a conversation.
Hmm.
And so I think this is very commendable to bring it to the table. And it could only help lower some of the stigma issues.
Yeah.
Because if I keep labeling you as spirit, 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 demon, 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 and then I would not get a safe place actually.
Yeah.
And
understand.
people need a safe place.
Yeah.
Because
And I
there's
think-
even stigma attached to me saying that, okay, look, the demon possessed woman coming in the church.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like
sure,
if I
right.
say, like, the mad woman coming in,
Yes.
you know.
And we're sad, even in that realm, you realize like how movies is make it, your head spinning wrong. You never see that in the
Yeah,
Bible. You can
right,
come from
right.
so even the area demon possessed,
There's
you
a
realize
stigma
Jesus was
on.
bound just to really
Right.
lies and deception, you know what I mean? But yeah. You
And
go
then
ahead.
on the flip side is that I'm not sure we have made a good representation of the message of the Bible to the unsafe professionals out there.
Right.
So you go to your doctor,
Definitely agree.
doctor, I don't think I have faith. Or what you
I
do.
know many Christians
Yeah.
like that.
I don't know medication.
I'm not taking that treatment.
I'm
Jesus
not
will
taking
keep
that-
me.
Yes,
So you
right.
just said, woman go, thy faith has made you whole.
So, in beginning this conversation, we're trying to get the balance. We
Yeah.
really need to get the balance and stop the gimmickry.
Yeah.
And be responsible in our health, be responsible in the conversation.
Right.
You know, sometimes I listen to people and they go, we don't need no politician. All we need is faith. And I'm saying, you know,
Oh, Lord.
it's like,
Yeah, but
I read this
that's actually
anecdote.
opposite the Bible because
I-
Jesus
I-
said he
Exactly.
appoint
Say that
kings, he
at all,
appoint different
yeah.
things for our purpose.
I read this anecdote where they said the late Muhammad Ali was on a plane and he was giving the flight attendant real problems to put on the seatbelt. He says, I'm Superman. You know, and she said, if you're Superman, you don't need a plane.
Yeah, why you
And
paying
so all
money
this
to go?
bragging that we do, we need to remind people.
It's actually had a comic book with him, you know, fighting Superman. I think
That's actually a popular thing that happened.
Right.
A
Yeah.
statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to come down to it and say, listen, there are some things because of our physical existence that we have to do for our health and well-being.
Yeah.
You know, and
Again,
similarly,
no.
Can't eat
don't
that
lose
sort
sight of faith.
sweet things and expecting that to affect you in the long run.
Great,
Yeah. Anyhow, yeah, you take it away, Eva. They come back up? Yes.
Yes, there, it's back up. Sorry about that, guys. So we have Katie. Katie says, sadly, well, obviously a lot of these comments would have been earlier from the earlier parts of the discussion. So sadly, we in Trinidad and Tobago deal with mental health in its acute stage when truth and in fact lots of persons are walking around with personality disorders, which is also listed on the DSM. We're simply too reactive. Katie added, many of those youths committing crimes without remorse are sociopaths. This is a result of whatever is undealt with in childhood and often exhibited as a conduct disorder. Mental health issues are very prevalent and really not taken seriously. And of course, there's a spiritual aspect to it. AJ Allen says, society is now slowly changing its position on seeking help. It's not cool to say I'm going to get mental help, but it's cool, boy, I'm mad. Katie added, exactly. Many times persons fail or are ashamed to seek help because we in the Caribbean don't have a culture of seeking help from a mental health professional. That has a lot to do with the stigma and fear of being labeled a mad person. While it's good that more awareness is being brought to the forefront, we really lack resources. Aaliyah James Dollabile says, yes, Christians can suffer from it, but long-term help is most times not available. Some people can read the word, etc., and do as much as they can to help themselves and get over their issues. Others need long-term assistance. Katie says, agreed. It's an important door that puts a person at greater risk if certain things are not dealt with. Just goes to show how much the physical, psychological, spiritual, and are all interrelated. Any other tagged Crystal? She said she would enjoy the show. I'm not sure why. Yes. So Crystal, make sure and
Crystal
take
Rahim,
this
that
in
is.
if you're not taking it in right now, yeah? Aaliyah, James Dolabile, and Generation.
Ask a friend.
This is actually true. Aaliyah says, and generational stuff also happens. Is Eniala. So I don't think she meant it in Aaliyah, James Dolabile, and generational stuff also happen to people who have not directly opened doors. I'm not sure if this person's name is Sade or Shade Byers. Forgive me. Always been one of the wisest men I know. I would like to think that's Mr. Hamilton, because I thought they talking about Kyle.
Somebody said he's
One of the wisest men.
One of the wisest men I know, and she said, "Well, I'm
This
assuming
was
Mr.
from,
Hamilton
I believe
does
it's
a job."
Sade
so much.
or Byers. Well, I did make mention of him because, he's Mark. So, yes, no help unattended, no long-term therapy. Aaliyah Dolabile, it takes time to heal from traumatic situations that produce mental illness. Let me say goodnight to Diane Vasek. She says, enough to move mountains. Valina says, excellent program. I enjoyed this session. Sade Byers, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Or is it Shade? It can't be Shade. I think we need to start, it's Shade. Okay, so it's Shade Byers. I think we need to start taking mental health as seriously as we take physical health. Sometimes it's a cue. There needs to be, Aaliyah says, there needs to be Christian ministries geared towards mental health. Eniala says, thank you for your wisdom, Pastor Hamilton. Great job to the Real Talk team. Let me see if I could it's just a few more, so I'll get them all in. Shade added, I wish we take mental health seriously as we take physical. Oh, I just added that one. Sometimes it may be a deficiency that we're unaware of. We haven't done enough research to know how we can go about treating it. So I guess people actually crying out for more awareness in Trinidad. Let me do my final two giveaways, because that's what I'm here for, guys. So Shade, I pronounced your name wrong, so I might as well give you a giveaway for you to forgive me. So you are the winner of our Movie Town voucher. Congratulations to you. And our second winner, because I didn't do anything in the first segment, will be Aaliyah Dolabile. Again, this last voucher, Aaliyah, that you are winning is sponsored by Organic Heaven. All right, their number is 622-1768. They are located at number 45 Saddle Road, Marval. You can check them out on Instagram at Organic Heaven Foods. For anything that you need organic or even gluten-free, vegan stuff, just give them a call. They even have fresh produce that's organic as well, all right? So just give them a call, check them out. You could visit them on Instagram as well and Facebook, all right? Thank all of you guys for tuning in. It was a great show. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton, for being here. It's always great hearing from all of you. From me, it's a wrap. I know Kyle is going to add some words there, but thank you all for being part of this show. It was really awesome. Have a great night.
Hey, we just want to thank you for coming on the show. And you said that you're a family therapist, as I said. We will have you on it because we do different type of shows with family, relationships, and maybe something else. We'd love to invite you, to come and maybe share impart some other wisdom in different areas, So it's awesome. And
would you be willing to share your contact information if anybody wants professional help, like counseling or?
No, not at this time.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I'm changing I have an agency in Tunapuna.
Right.
So we're going through some transition there.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
No problem.
Awesome stuff. We thank you.
Yeah.
Your crew, we out. We encourage you all to like and share. Maybe it's a great topic. Maybe I don't know if you maybe the person want to come for the dreams. We actually want to do something maybe in the area of dreams and stuff.
On dreams.
Yeah, because it's a real thing.
Yes,
Whether you
yes,
believe
yes.
or not, it's our dreams, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're all we out in Jesus' name. You all have a blessed weekend. Well, whatever the rest of your weekend. Have a good night.
Thank you so much for being part of this show. I hope you really enjoyed it. You can go on over to our YouTube channel and click subscribe. You can also click on that bell at the bottom and you'll be able to get live notifications. For our Facebook viewers, remember to like, comment, and share, guys. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And if you'd like to come on down and be part of our live audience, we are located at number 12 Anna Street, Woodbrook. Have a great night. Thank you for being part of the show. Good night.